What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about Ripple. It is up 5.18% right now. I want to go over why I feel there's a hell of a lot more upside in the short term, what the data points are saying, and the latest in updates. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So like I said, it is up 5.17%. You're seeing rather low volume today. So 22.26%, kind of lower over the last 24 hours. Although I do feel that whales are waiting on the sidelines. And the reason why I know that is basically if you kind of look at this. So this shows money markets. A lot of people like to look at this as a good indicator of what truly is happening with the whales, because even if we kind of pull this up for a second, you can kind of see just there's all-time high amounts of money sitting in money markets. So big money doesn't, like, despite the good momentum that's been happening with the crypto market and also equity, big money is somewhat hesitant about it. So you have seen, based on this week by week, that money markets did see a reduction of $1.38 billion. Still though, 7.02 trillion in there, but that does mean that there's big money rotating out into both equity and also the crypto market. So when it comes down to, for instance, Ripple, there's a hell of a lot of good catalysts coming up and good reasons to buy it. I think right now big whales are just waiting for it to get to the right sweet point where a good catalyst does come out, possibly SEC related, then this is where you'll see a nice push higher. But when it comes down to some recent updates, a lot of good things, so I want to go over some of those with you. So this came out on the 13th. Ripple receives approval from Dubai Financial Services Authority to provide crypto payments and services in the UAE. So there's going to be a hell of a lot more of this type of updates throughout 2025, most of which will be coming from large American entities. So this is going to be a huge catalyst, in my opinion. Just once you have more integration in day-to-day society, then of course it only goes up from there. Aside from that though, you do have the SEC. So they're kind of stuck in limbo. I think right now a lot of people are still waiting at the edge of their seat for some update, but based on this, they did call it Ripple. So Ripple as a strategic financial asset for the US. So interesting play on words. So essentially they do see that Ripple is a viable investment. And I think just if you kind of read between the lines, that's an answer that the SEC is going to drop their case like very, very soon. So at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of upside, like I said, with Ripple, despite the lower volume. But when it comes down to it on a technical standpoint, with it right now at 237, it was able to successfully get above this pivot point of 233. As I mentioned in my last video, that by basically Friday, assuming all the data points, so CPI, PPI, and the Michigan consumer sentiment, as long as all of them were somewhat in line and not crazy negative, you were going to see it above this pivot point. And lo and behold, here it is. So when it comes down to the next big step up, that most likely will be coming up this upcoming week, where it will be touching most likely this R1. And this is where a lot of those whales that are sitting on the sidelines, they will really push it higher. So that's just my 2 cents. Of course, you guys could, that's a bad thing about retail. They like to see a trend starting to occur or already have happened. Then they decide to buy. So for instance, if it gets to like 290, then they say, hey, time to buy. Let's FOMO in. Now is the time to buy before that FOMO even starts. That's just my 2 cents. Of course, you can do whatever the hell you guys want. But looking at the liquidations for this, so I'll pull up Ripple, not ETC. So as far as Ripple, you see actually more shorts starting to return rather than longs. That is a very good kind of scenario playing out. But at the end of the day, the longs that are getting in, they know what is coming. So even though you are seeing rather low volume, those institutions and entities that are getting in now know what the big things that are coming. But aside from that though, looking at the fear and greed index, it is under the fear category, so 22, so meaning people's appetite for risk is improving. So it did recently have that low, I think of like 15 or something like that. Absolutely crazy. Actually, yeah, it shows right here, March the 10th, 2025, extreme fear. So we're kind of bouncing off of that. And historically, if we look back here, we're kind of lagging by a month and a half. So when it comes down to how this played out in 2024, then ultimately we are going to see a very nice push higher. And Friday, the markets did leave on a very positive note. They closed on a positive note. And so I think that is going to fuel the optimism for this weekend for crypto. So you could see some nice runs, essentially maybe 5-10% once things start to get going, and maybe overnight on Friday or even Saturday morning. That is typically when things start to get very heated up. So again, even more reason to essentially buy in now. But no matter what you do, whatever floats your boat, Ripple is still ranked number 4 based on the market cap. But I do feel this weekend, this is where you will see it back at the number 3 range. So this is a very quick overview on some of the data points, key levels to really watch for, and ultimately why I feel now is a good time to get into Ripple. So let me know your general thoughts on that. Have you been buying? Did you panic sell when it kind of pulled back? What is your general 2 cents on all that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon where I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.